Jenny Minnick, a community engagement librarian here at LaPorte County Public Library. On this episode of 6 Tips at 6, I'll show you how to use the library's digital scanner to scan any documents or pictures that you would like. So tonight's episode, because it's October, we're focusing on Family History Month, and so I'm going to focus on how you can use this tool, this free tool here available in our Maker Lab, to preserve your family memories. So tip number 1 is gather and label the items that you want to scan before you actually come into the Maker Lab. So I brought with me 4 different, 2 photographs and 2 documents today that I'm going to scan. So I brought in 2 family photographs, and I intentionally selected photos that maybe were a little bit worse for the wear. Sometimes, time and age can cause images to deteriorate. So I wanted to show you how the Epson automatically does some minor repairs to your photographs. And then I also brought in 2 documents. This is kind of funny. This is my great-great-grandma's identification card from the 1950s, and her name is written in pencil. I don't know if that was like a personal document she created or an official one, but this is her official driver's license from 1915, which is pretty interesting. It's all just like handwritten. So those are the 4 documents I brought with me. So before I came into the lab today to scan them, I made sure to make a list of the names of the people in the photos. If it's a woman in the photo, I always want to use her maiden name and her last name, and I do surnames in all caps. And any dates, I want to use military date format to record those, just so that if I share these documents with other people or these photos with other people, they have a really good, clear idea about who this document or who this photograph pertains to. The other thing that I want to do is, if I don't know the date, the exact date of the photograph, I want to give an estimate. So for example, my great-grandmother in one of the photos, I know she was born in 1918. She looks like she's about 6 years old, so I'll say circa 1924 on that image. All right, so that leads us into tip number 2, which is how to reserve your time here at the Maker Lab. So I don't think I told you earlier, the Maker Lab is located at the main library location in LaPorte at 904 Indiana Avenue, and the Maker Lab is on the lower level near the youth area. So I'm going to go ahead and share my screen with you to show you a little bit more about how you can reserve your visit here to the Maker Lab. So the first thing you can do is just give us a call. It's as easy as that. So 362-6156, and whoever answers on the other end of the phone, our customer service staff will be happy to set you up with an appointment. The other option is to reserve that time yourself by going to laportelibrary.org, click on At the Library, reserve your visits, and then that's going to bring up a listing of all the different types of visits you can make here at LaPorte County Public Library, all the different reservations, I should say, that you can make. So we have meeting and study room reservations. You can reserve the Playgrow Read Room for young children and their families, Notary Public Service, Book a Librarian, Maker Lab here, Study Cafe, and Curbside. And then you just go down here to reserve your visit. You find the Maker Lab at the main library, and then you simply use the calendar to the left and the available times to click on and reserve your visit. So you can see today the only times available are 4 to 5 or 7, and if you want service the day of, you'll need to make a call to reserve that. But for example, like tomorrow, I could just click on that time and then I can make my reservation that way. All right, so that leads us into tip number 3, which is how to use the Epson software. So I'm going to turn around here and log into the computer. So there's a password that's written on the PC here that if you come in, or I should say on the iMac here, that if you come in to use the lab, you can enter that password to gain access. All right, and then the Epson software that we use is called Epson Scan 2. So I'm just going to click on that to open it. When you open up the software, there are different scan settings you can choose. I'm going to choose photograph because even though I have 2 documents here, I want them all to be exported as JPEGs. So I'm going to choose photograph. Photo mode, I recommend that you stay with the main settings if you're a beginner and don't get into the advanced settings on your first try. Image format down here is JPEG, and the folder that I want them to go to is desktop because I want them to appear here on the desktop later when I'll save them to my device. All right, so that leads to tip number 4, and tip number 4 is how to actually just turn on the scanner. So it's really simple. There is a power button down here. You just click on that power button to turn it on. There are connections in the back, but we leave it connected to the iMac all the time, so you shouldn't have to worry about that. And then sometimes there's a transportation lock in the back that can be turned on. So if this doesn't lift easily, you might need to look in the back to check out to make sure that that transportation lock is turned off. So I'm going to go ahead and put my images in here. I want to make sure that they're all oriented the same way because that's going to make my life a little bit easier when I need to do editing later so that I don't need to rotate the images. And then it's that easy. You just hit scan, and then the software tells you what it's doing. There's a preview scan in process. Then it starts preparing the thumbnails. So while those are scanning, I want to share tip number 5 with you. And tip number 5 is that you can scan not just photos and documents, you can also scan slides. And there are these really helpful trays that you can put 12 slides at once into, and then it locks in to make sure they're all square, and it's really quick. It scans all 12 images and you get distinct files of each image. So that's the tray for the slides. There's also one for negatives. So if you have film at home that you want to digitize, a lot of things that family history photos that we inherit from parents and grandparents don't come in, neat photo format. A lot of it's in film or slides. So that's my tip number 5, is just that if you have those images in other formats, the scanner works with those as well. And then in the settings, you just want to select a negative, that you're using a negative or a slide, so that the software does a good job digitizing that for you. All right, it looks like they are all done. So that leads to tip number 6, which is have a plan to save your work. So with me today, I brought my USB drive. Oh, it's right here in front of me. So I've got a USB drive, and that fits really nicely. We've got a USB port down here underneath the monitor. So I just pop that in. And then these images that I've scanned and saved appear on my computer. So I can click on those and rename them quickly because I've done my homework before I came. I know what I want to name those. So I type in the name for those. And then I take that image and I'm going to drag it up. My store and go, which is my USB that I've plugged in down here, is up there. So I just take those images that I've renamed and I drop them on my store and go, and then they're there on that USB drive and easy for me to remove and take home. Now the last step before you finish up, you just always want to remember, don't leave your images behind. Remember to take your photos or your documents with you. You don't want to lose them. And then the other thing that you want to do, because this is a shared device and it's open to the public, you want to protect your own privacy by making sure that you remove these items off the desktop and drag them down to the trash, and then empty the trash to make sure that no one else has access to your family photos. All right, well, I hope this was helpful. Enjoy Family History Month. We have a lot of resources here at the library to help you discover more about your family history. In addition to the scanner, we also have a machine upstairs in the Indiana room that can take your VHS tapes or your old video recordings and turn those into DVDs or digital recordings that you can save in the cloud, as well as a wealth of information on researching your family history, which is available through our website. So I'll link that in the comments below. All right, thanks for listening, everyone.